everybody, it's John Broadwell, creator of the Serial Wombat open source project and a consultant at my company, Broadwell Consulting Incorporated. As you'll see from this video, I know a lot about embedded firmware development. If you need help with embedded firmware, specifically medical device development is my specialty. Give me a call for medical or any general development project. So as you guys probably know, the Serial Wombat 4B and 18AB chips can be used as USB to UART converters. We're actually looking at a video right now that I created a couple of years, 3 years ago. Boy, it's been a long time, about using the Serial Wombat 4B as a I2C to UART converter. And for the most part, it's gone very, very well. There's one minor errata around high-speed communication you should be aware of that I did a little video on. But for the most part, it's been very quiet. Users have been very happy. Then the other day, Bus 3455 popped up with a question. And it says, hardware works well. I've used it. However, when using it on an Arduino Uno 4 with FreeRTOS, the processor crashes as soon as the serial print statement's used. So that's something I'd never seen before. So I was like, hey, tell me about it. Send me the sketch at help@serialwombat.com, which he did, and gave me just a really perfect example of a minimalized sketch that shows the problem and with and without. So this is the sketch that he sent me. He's including Arduino FreeRTOS. So let's talk just briefly about what FreeRTOS is. RTOS is a way of switching between tasks at any moment in a embedded system. And FreeRTOS is one of the most common, best supported ones out there. And many Arduinos run on it. They're in the future going to be moving to something called Zephyr, which is different. And so you can Google that and read about it to your heart's content. But long story short, most Arduino users never worry about doing that. But the systems that run on FreeRTOS underneath the calls that you make, such as the ESP32 and now the Arduino R4, which runs on a Renesas processor instead of the bare metal AppMega of the R3, implement this FreeRTOS. So there's some interesting things you can do with that as you get to be a more advanced embedded systems programmer, but still want to use the Arduino environment. So the comment he said, when this is commented out, this particular sketch works great. So let's take a look at the hardware real quick. You can see it's just a simple picture here. We've got the Serial Wombat 4B chip on address 0x6C, connect up over the I2C bus. I got the pull-up resistors on there. And then there's one I/O line that goes from pin 1 of the Serial Wombat chip to the UART receive pin on the Arduino. And the test that we have here is going to write out some data from the Serial Wombat chip and make sure that the Arduino can catch it and display it back over the USB serial interface. So looking at his code real quick, includes serialwombat.c. He's going to instantiate a Serial Wombat chip, instantiate a Serial Wombat UART on that chip, a couple of global variables here, set up the I2C bus. We're talking to the chip on 6C. And then he's going to initialize the Serial Wombat UART at 9600 bits per second on pin number 1, transmitting on pin number 1. And so that lines up with the wires that we used a minute ago. He's going to do serial begin, which connects up to the PC. That's where we're going to put our debug data. And serial begin 1, which is the hardware UART interface that you can use for embedded systems on the R4. And that is at 9600 baud. So the purpose of this interface is send data out of the Serial Wombat chip, have it get caught on the native interface to the R4, and go from there. And so we get a serial print line setup complete, and we go into a loop, and then just continuously we're going to have the Serial Wombat chip print out say hello. We're going to catch that, and we're going to print the same thing back to the host. And if we see say hello on the host, that means everything's working great. So let's do a sketch upload on that. And if we look, okay, we're getting say hello over and over again. It's going out of the Serial Wombat chip, going over that purple wire, coming into the Arduino. The Arduino's catching it and then spitting it back out over the USB emulated UART interface back to the PC so we can see it here. Tip top. Fantastic. Cheers. So let's now comment back in the FreeRTOS. which is what our user says is giving us problems. Let's upload that. And we'll put the screen up here so we can see what happens. And blammo, that's not good. We threw an exception right off the bat, and it's giving us a whole bunch of debug data. And it's normal to think, oh, that's just garbage. What am I possibly going to do with that? Well, there is a really useful line down here, and it's actually telling you what to do with this. It says show more or call stack info by running Addr2Line. And okay, now we're going to get into embedded system stuff a little bit. All of this is normally hidden behind the curtain for Arduino. But an ELF file is a file that contains the binary data that your code is going to run, along with an enormous amount of debugging information that ties the instructions that you're executing on the Arduino back to the source code that they came from. And if you're running a full-blown debugger, it'll load this ELF file, and that's how it knows how to set breakpoints, how to stop at parts, how to look at watch variables, all the stuff that you do in a full-fledged in-circuit debugged or emulated IDE. So, but we're not going to do that right now. So, if I do a command line, I can try and do what they say, and we'll just say run Addr2Line. You can see it's pointing to the ELF file, and all of these things at the end are addresses. And so when you do something in an embedded system, you have something called the stack, which basically is how you go up and down your function and function recalls. And so each of these represent stack calls that let us trace the functions that were called to get to this particular problem. And we can unravel all of that with this Addr2Line function. So I will paste this in, and it says, oh, Addr2Line is not recognized. If I was on Linux or, my old Spark Station or something like that, then, probably that would be right there because it's part of the, the GNU toolchain and all of that kind of stuff. Fortunately, when you installed the stuff for your Arduino R4, you got a bunch of those tools. They're just hard to get to. So, by doing a little bit of Googling, I figured that out. And it turns out that for me, you can get to a version of Addr2Line, which comes with the Renaissance stack here. It's in C:/users/ whatever your username is /appdata local blah, 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 down into this tool chain, and there it is. And this particular stuff here may change over time as the tool changes. So what you want to do is 5 years from now, this link probably won't work. But if you go into your local Arduino 15 or Arduino whatever and search for Addr2Line, you'll probably be able to find it. So we're going to take that and we're going to feed it the same thing we tried to feed it before. All right, now we're getting something. So take a look at this. We can see what's happening from the very bottom up. The first thing that the Renaissance did and the FreeRTOS did was called the reset handler. The reset handler called something else that was also called reset handler. Then reset handler called main, which is a reasonable thing to do. Underneath setup and loop in Arduino, there's a C or C++ main function that actually executes everything. And then at exit, don't know what that is. Arduino main V. Okay, so we're working up through the stack that they put together, the software that runs Arduino. Oh, now we're getting into loop. Okay, that I like because I can actually see loop. This is my loop function right here. That makes sense. And from loop, where did we go? Okay, Arduino print line. Do I have an Arduino print line? I got a couple of different ones in here. And so it could, maybe it's this one, maybe it's that one, maybe it's this one. Hard to say. Actually, I don't have to guess. I could actually look at the line. So if we look here, it was print line on line 66, and lines don't. Okay, so they don't line up exactly because of the way that Arduino compiles and puts together its CPP file. It loaded other stuff at the front, but we can see that, okay, the next thing it called was UART right. Okay, now we're getting down. When you installed your Serial Wombat library, you put a bunch of code in your Arduino sketchbook /library/Serial Wombat. And so it's one of my files, definitely, that we're in when we're resetting. It's the UART function. So we call the write up, and then we call another write. It looks like that must be an accessor function, and we're getting in there. And then from there, we call pend SV handler. I don't know what that is. That's not my code. Where is it? Oh, it's located right here in the Arduino Renaissance stuff. So let's take and see if we can find that guy. And if I take a look, and I've got it open here, I go to this line 484 here. Sorry, that's not right. Yeah, port.c, 484. And the function pend SV handler. Let's take a look and see if we can find that guy now. Okay, there he is. This function is assembly to meet the requirements for hard, naked, whatever. Okay, so this is something to do with FreeRTOS, and it's doing something there. So let's back off a little bit and look again at my UART function and see if we can get an idea of what it's doing. So I'm going to go down into my Arduino sketchbook library, Serial Wombat source, Serial Wombat UART.h. And if I go to the line that it tells me, 292, oh, look at that. It looks like we just called yield. Yield is interesting, and I call this in this function. When we go to write a whole bunch of bytes, it can take a long time to send those out over I²C. If it's a large packet that we're sending out, the ESP8266 or ESP32 may reset because of a function called a watchdog that you don't get to service often enough if you spend too much time in a tight loop inside of your Arduino code. And so because we might be sending out a whole bunch of packets in a row, I call yield. And whatever that is, it's not a problem if we don't include this Arduino FreeRTOS.h, but as soon as we do, we're getting some kind of a conflict with this yield call. And so we know we have to do something to give access back to the microcontroller. I'm sorry, back to the operating system, so that we don't just monopolize the thing. But maybe instead of a yield, let's try changing that. We're actually going to modify this library now, and I'm going to call delay 0. And essentially what that's going to do is jump into the delay routine, which is how you tell Arduino, okay, I don't have anything important to do for a little while, and come back in a certain amount of time. So hopefully this delay 0 will give us the effect of a yield, give the operating system a chance to do anything vital that it needs to do without putting too much of a delay in. And so if I make this change in the actual final code, I'm going to have to go through and test this, make sure it works good for large packets on the ESP32 and, on the Renaissance, the Arduino R4, which now will be one of my unit test platforms because it's a different platform I didn't test on up until now. So anyway, long story short, lots of interesting work. A lot of you probably never heard of yield before and might not have known why you would do a delay 0. And we're really getting into the nitty-gritty of how individual implementers for different platforms tied the higher level of Arduino into the lower level of the either bare metal executive or the RTOS that they run on top of. So, this, if you saw the picture of the Serial Wombat character at the beginning of this is an advanced topic. He's got his, fancy academic hat on. This is definitely a fancy academic hat topic. So let's go ahead and change that yield to a delay 0 and upload it. And we'll come in here so that we can see if it starts working. Okay, and now it's working. So whatever it was, that fixed whatever conflict we were having with the FreeRTOS code base. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right answer. I'm going to have to look into that and, make sure I didn't cause any other problems. That yield was in there for a reason, and it's not guaranteed that delay 0 will have the exact same effect as a yield. So I got to test it later with some bigger blocks. But, as you can see, this is one of those cases. Most of the time, Arduino is pretty simple and straightforward to use, but we got pretty deep into the embedded systems specialties with our stack and our stack analysis and our RTOS and our ELF files and all those kind of things. So, it's definitely, you can see it's a very deep rabbit hole that you can spend a lot of years looking into if you want. So, kind of neat. And before I go, let's talk about one other cool thing. I'm not officially announcing this yet, but if you're the sort of person that watched this video all the way to the end, you deserve to be on the inside track of things. Got a new chip that I'm really excited about, the CH32V003, which is a super cheap microcontroller. And I'm looking at a board that I can have pre-assembled probably for a lower cost than the Serial Wombat 4B. This has a couple of disadvantages versus that chip, but I think we're going to be able to do an 8-pin board integrated, ready to go with the caps already on it, I2C, onboard pull-up resistors that you'll be able to close a solder jumper if you want to, solder jumpers to determine which of 8 addresses the chip has. I've got this about 3/4 proven out from feasibility, got some boards made. It's looking really, really solid. So look for a Kickstarter on that late this spring or early this summer. So, and hey, let me know what you might like to see. What features are the most important to you in a small chip? I've only got 16K of flash, so I can't stuff everything that the Serial Wombat 18AB does into this. But we do have a 32-bit micro with a 48 megahertz clock, which is kind of interesting. So this guy in some ways is more capable than any of the chips, but in I/O kind of way and a flash memory way is much less than the Serial Wombat 18AB. But the cost and my ability to have these boards manufactured should be really a spectacular addition to the Serial Wombat line. So if you get a chance, leave me a comment on what you might like to see in this new board. And until I talk to you again, have fun, keep making stuff. The Serial Wombat firmware is available on GitHub and is constantly being updated. Subscribe below so that you can see the latest features and videos that come out as we fix bugs and add new features